Good afternoon, everybody. Sitch, I mean, one more episode, Legacy and Impact. I have somebody very special today. I know him for a few years, several years to be honest, and we've talked a few times, never get a chance to work together. Um, but he's somebody that I look up to whenever it comes to um, raising capital, being involved in any and all kind of business. Um, Senator Eckridge, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and why should they listen us?
Thanks so much for having me, Sid. I'm excited to be. Why should somebody listen to me? Honestly, I'm a normal guy, but I'm a normal guy that has hit his head against a wall dozens and dozens of times and paid a lot of money and time and experience to get the education I have today. Right. That the only difference between me and anybody else. Right.
Mhm.
I started off in real estate clear back 2009 in the single family space, duplexes, triplexes. It's a common story, right? But I did that for like 10 years and I finally just got burned out. And in 2019, I switched into multifamily and started syndicating multifamily. And, again, bumps and bruises along the way, learned a lot. Actually, have gone through 7 paid mentorship groups to do what I do today.
Wow.
Paid almost a $500,000 when you count
Yeah.
travel and everything like that. It's for the education, right?
Yeah.
What I do today, I'm actually a fund manager, which what that means for the investors, basically what that means is that I now work with big institutional players that have deals that people don't normally have access to. Right. And so I go and I find these really unique deals and I bring them out to my audience and I let them access them. Okay.
Yeah.
And I do that primarily with an educational focus. Right. I believe that rather than trying to sell somebody something or twist somebody's arm or convince them, the best thing to do is just educate people and teach them about what it is that you're doing. And if there's an alignment, they'll come alongside you,
Yeah.
and if there's not, maybe they'll wait for the next opportunity and I teach them about that opportunity and see if there's alignment. So I'm really, really big on education, right? And coaching and teaching. And it's just something that's really important to me is to educate others.
Awesome. So you're saying that you're gonna share with our audience what you have learned paying $500,000. That's more than any college degree. What you have learned over the years, probably 7 years now. Um, but before we dive into it, I would love to share more. Tell us a little bit more about what were your background before starting into single family, and who
Ooh.
were you? Where were you doing? What were you doing before that? And where are you located currently?
Sid, I should have mentioned that. I actually live in Twin Falls, Idaho, which I think is a beautiful, amazing place.
I'm
I'm halfway
jealous.
between Boise and Salt Lake,
Yeah.
and an hour south of Sun Valley, Idaho, which is
Yeah.
just phenomenal, right? Beautiful place. Lived here my whole life, and I'm very happy to live here.
Awesome.
My career before, I mean, I can go all the way back to grade school, man. I was an entrepreneur. I always have been, entrepreneur at heart. I was the kid that sold candy and other things out of his locker in school,
Mhm.
right? Just always knew that if I needed to change my future, I was the one that had to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up super wealthy or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't have any sad stories. Like I didn't go hungry or any of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But I knew that if I needed to be wealthy, I had to make that happen on my own. You
Yeah.
know, I've had 2 what I call big boy jobs, grown up jobs,
Mhm.
W-2s with benefits and all that other kind of stuff. I managed a call center, with,
Okay.
at one time I had almost 3,000 employees who worked for me underneath with several managers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I sold high tech IT stuff for a little
Yeah.
while. But the biggest thing that I did for the longest time was a financial advisor, right? I literally help people invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I set up 401ks for companies, things of that nature, and sold a tons and tons of life insurance.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right? I felt I felt almost like I was being two-faced, right? Because I was helping these people invest in, Google stock or whatever, but all of my money was going into real estate.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
talking to somebody, and we just talked about the same thing.
Yeah. And so, I sit down with this little old grandma or whatever and roll her money over into an annuity. And it's not a bad product. She's going to get paid for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
But I take that commission and I go buy a house with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it just I felt in misalignment. And the thing, if you understand that industry, you have to actually file what's called an OBA, or an outside business activity report with your employer or broker dealer in this case, for every business you do, anything that's outside of that business. And they didn't care when I was buying houses. And they didn't care if I had like one partner that brought me a little bit of money, right? They
Mm,
didn't care about that. But when I told them in 2019, I'm going to go and syndicate this thing and
mm.
I'm going to get 25 investors to invest 50K.
Oh, that's a big no. That's
Yeah.
a big.
They were like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I literally at that time in 2009 had to make a decision, right? Do I keep on this financial advisor path where I've built up this clientele and this income?
Mhm.
I mean, I was making not crazy money, 5 or 6 thousand dollars a month on trails, which
Mhm.
is mailbox money, right? You
Yeah.
wake up, the money's there.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had another opportunity and I could help significantly more people and I would be in better alignment if I was putting people's money where I was putting my money.
Yeah.
And so in 2019, I left the financial advising business as well. That's when I started syndicating. And that's when I went full time in real estate.
Awesome. So you mentioned you brought up a really good point. And I always say that our job is to add value 99% of the time. And then one time and 1% of that time, we try to sell only when we believe in a product. You
That's right.
believed in real estate. You moved away from a good golden handcuff type of job. Um, let's dive into a little bit more. What was about that real estate that you realized that this is going to be a game changer for you? And obviously, you took a big decision.
Yeah. Well, that game changer didn't happen in 2019. It actually happened clear back in like 2009, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you right back to the origin story. I got 3 or 4 different people, gurus, mentors
Hmm.
that growing up always said things about real estate, right? I mean, I read the
Yeah.
Purple Bible, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, right?
Yeah. Purple
Uh,
Bible. Yeah.
yeah, I watched Founder, the
Yeah.
origin story of McDonald's, right? And the
Yeah.
McDonald's franchises. They don't make
Yeah.
money in burgers, right? They make
Yeah.
money on real estate, and somebody really smart said to me a long time ago, all roads lead to real estate, right? All the rich people, the multi millionaires, right? The real rich people, real estate is a huge piece of their portfolio.
Yeah. All all
Huge.
all roads leads to real estate. All money goes to real estate at the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I knew even if I was going to stay in stocks and bonds and stuff, I knew that I had to have my money in real estate. And that decade of investing in single family proved to me, right? Because I saw my returns that I was getting and I saw the returns I was giving in the financial advising space, right? I was blowing them out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, what the other thing I learned during that 10 years, right? If your name is on title, if you're actually the person buying the property, right? I need you to understand, everyone listening to this call, you're not an investor, right? You're buying a business or a job, depending on how you look at it.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you're gonna just be an investor and be a passive investor, you've got to be an LP in a syndication with a professional that's running the business. Now, if you want to start a business and get a job to run real estate, that's awesome. Go ahead, buy it and run it. But I just need you to understand that's not passive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want to remind our audience one of the very important principle about real estate is um, comparing real estate with a business. If a business stop making money, it's worthless because there is no income, there is no EBITDA. Versus on real estate, you still have an intrinsic value of a real estate itself. We have seen in the last few years, and and you probably have seen that in your circle as well. So many deals have gone south.
Oh,
Lenders are taking foreclosure and things of nature, but you still have to come up with one real estate that values zero. There is no such thing as value zero in real estate.
right.
You still, I mean, yeah, sure. You somebody losing 50% of their equity and 50% of the investment value, sure. But zero is not a number for real estate. In
Right.
business, there is a number called zero, because if you don't have enough income and you're not offsetting it with your expenses and still making some money, there is no EBITDA and there is no value for the business. So one of the things that I remind my audience, the biggest risk that you're taking is you're relying on one source of income.
Mhm.
I used to buy, hold, flip, and at one point I had about 32 houses. And like you said, that was a job. But dude,
Oh boy.
I was making back in days, I was making 30, 35% on my investment every single day. That's in my cash flow.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not even including the appreciation that I had. One house I bought back in 2011 for about 70K, 69K. Good area. 2011 was a time when you were buying, 2010 and 2009. And I sold it in 2020, and I sold it for like 350. Right.
Mhm.
And for that asset, I did not do anything. Right. I did not run the business except managing the day to day. So we're speaking the same language, Senator. I think the importance of knowing your earned income as an active income versus your passive income is a big difference. And we're not even touching the tax benefits and the
Right.
depreciation that you get out of it and all of those things. So you started syndicating in 2019. Tell us a little bit more about that journey. I'm really interested in how you become into a fund manager role in what intrigued you, right? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
cash is king. We all know that, but what was your journey to come to this point where you are today as a fund manager?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting story, for sure. And there's some twists and turns along that road.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I first started in multifamily, right, I actually I actually made a ton of mistakes, and luckily none of them cost me any money, but they cost me reputation and stuff like that.
Mm,
So the very first multifamily building that I put an offer in on, so this is an amazing story. It's fun. Uh, I found this deal. It was about almost $10 million in 2019. Right? It's a pretty good sized deal.
mm,
And I can't remember the website I found it on. It was one of the public ones, LoopNet or
mhm.
Crexy or something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Yeah.
And I looked at it for about 15, 20 minutes, about the same amount of time I look at single family.
Yeah.
And I sent an email to my realtor, my single family realtor.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And I said, listen, I want to put an offer in on this deal, on this property, and these are the terms that I want to put on it, just like I would for a single family house.
Correct.
And she takes the single family standard realtor offer form
It's hard. Yeah. Hmm.
and writes an offer on this property.
Yeah.
Could you just imagine, right?
Yeah.
Us getting laughed out of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I discovered at that point, like, I got to learn, right?
Yeah.
I got to go and learn. And so I joined a mentorship group right off the bat after that. And this mentorship group really taught me, what do you got to do? How do you underwrite an apartment building? All that kind of stuff, right? I paid $50,000 to join this thing
Mm,
just to learn how to do the math because it's
yeah.
very unique.
Yeah.
And then, amazingly enough, there was another person in that same mentorship group right here in my town. Blew my mind, right? Like,
I
small,
didn't know you. Yeah.
yeah, how did I not know that you
Yeah.
were doing
Yeah.
this and I'm doing this, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy had a direct to owner deal that he was negotiating, but he couldn't take down on his own. Couldn't like he needed more
Good
help,
thing.
right?
Got it.
And
Yeah.
so we partnered up and we bought 18 units right here in our town. I still own this property today.
Awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, so that was the first one I bought,
Yeah.
right? And that was actually pretty small, and we just joint ventured that. Um, and so I was using all the profits that I had from the single family space to buy these things, right? And we just had two or three partners, no big deal.
Yeah.
And then I found this amazing property in just about 2 hours from me in Pocatello. And it was significantly more, right? The capital raise was going to be 1.5 million.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do. right? I don't have
Yeah.
1.5 million in cash. What
Yeah.
do I?
Yeah.
And so that was my first foray into syndication, right? I syndicated a 33 unit deal and we made it. We got all the capital raised except the acquisition fee. And I'm like, whatever. Well, we'll just
Yeah.
waive the acquisition fee and we'll take it when we sell it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And by the skin of my teeth, right, too, and I had no idea what I was doing, right? I was just literally calling people at random, right? I had no systems. I didn't have a CRM. I mean, I had a portal, right? That's the
Yeah.
only thing I had.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Uh,
you raised that money, one point almost or part of it, $1.5 million with no
yeah,
system, right? Um, I want to point out this to our audience. Raising capital in commercial real estate is much easier than raising capital in any other business, right?
yeah,
If I open a bottle cleaning company and try to tell people how it works and all of that, is extremely hard because how many bottle cleaning companies that I know? Real estate is different. Everybody sees it every day. You live in there. You know some part of it. And my experience tells me that every average Joe knows something about real estate. That has its own story. So you raise that capital, sure, didn't charge the acquisition fee. I wish I was the investor, but you raise that with almost no system. What was the first thing that you do? You know, I tell people, go to your phone contacts and you will find a lot of people who would love to invest with you because you have that no like and trust factor with them. What was your story? How did you um, raise that $1.5 million?
yeah. Same thing, right? I mean, that's exactly what it was. So there was a couple of partners on the deal, right? And I was in charge of capital raising.
Right.
But I asked each of the partners to give me 5 to 10 people that they thought would be
Yeah.
interested, and I wanted them to give me a warm introduction. And at
Hmm.
that conversation, it was preferably like a group text, and it was, "Hey, I'm partnering on this deal in Idaho, and we need to raise some money. I want to introduce you to my partner Senate." That's really all it was, right?
Yeah.
Between that and then literally just calling my warm market,
Yeah.
right? And I would say I probably had a 1 in 10 success rate, okay?
Okay.
So, uh
10%. I mean, 10% closing rate is a good ratio.
yeah, and especially with cold calls, right?
It's
Like,
cool
I
call.
was actually really excited,
Hmm.
calling my aunt Linda and saying, "Hey, Aunt Linda, right? I've
Yeah.
got this deal. These are the terms. Are you interested in investing?" And she said, "Senate, no." Like, you don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Why do you do that? Right?
Yeah.
That's not what you do for a living at all,
Right.
right? You help people invest in stocks, right? I'm like, well, this is new and blah blah blah. And so the fact that I had a little bit of investment experience, like I help people invest in stocks and bonds, that helped.
Yeah.
But the number one problem I had was that reputation. It's my first time I'm doing it, right?
Hmm.
That was my number one objection.
Yeah.
This is your first deal you're doing like this? Like, no, I'm not going in with you. Why would I?
Yeah. And then you mentioned something very interesting. You joined a mentorship group, and there are very few that are really good ones, and
Mhm.
there are a bunch of them who are just selling something, right? And I made a piece recently. They oversimplify so much to a point that an average Joe who wants to start into real estate do not know anything about the operations, right? So if one time I was talking to somebody, and I literally got frustrated so much in commercial real estate investing, in apartment complex investing. There are about 33 action items that you have to do, and of those 33 action items, almost each and every one of them is a department in itself, right?
Mm,
And I can give you a little glimpse of that, right? Forget about raising capital. The things that you have to do before that is understanding the structure. What is syndication? The legal documents that you have to prepare, the attorneys that you have to know. Then you have to come back on your networking with your brokers. And then how you're going to win those deals, and then how you're going to compete, and your offer letter, and your LOIs, and what you want to put on which. By the time you go and sell it, those are 31 items that that you have to do, right? And a lot of times, in my finding, these mentors, they oversimplify. A
Mhm.
lot of people, I have an employee who, just like you, went through a couple of mentorship group and couldn't close any deal until he got become an employee with me, and we closed a couple of deals with him. Right. By that time, I had my track record and I was closing quite a few. Um, Tell us a little bit more about your experience. Obviously, good, bad, and ugly. I mean, I'm pretty sure we got some really good mentors as well.
Sure.
But it also depends on your personal acumen, right? Because you came from an investment world and you know this is not how it works. And coming from a single family world, you know the tenant toilets and the operating part of it. How did you decipher it? How were you? I'm really interested to know, like, what did you realize? Hey, this is a team job. I can't do it
Mhm,
alone.
mhm.
What did you do to build your team and find those partners that you had when you were doing the 33 units apartment?
Yeah, great questions. So, a couple things about that, right? So, you started off with mentors a little bit and asked about, how to define and look for a good mentor. I would say if somebody's interested in that, the first and most important thing is to figure out what it is you want to accomplish, right? What does the end result look like,
Yeah,
right? What is it you're trying to do? Okay,
correct.
and then find a mentor that is either has done that, right, or is on the way to doing that. I actually think sometimes if they're still on the journey, they're a better mentor because if they're too far ahead, right? If you wanted to become a hedge fund, uh, or start a hedge fund, you would think the best person to call is Ray Dalio, right? But Ray Dalio is like so far ahead of all
Yeah,
of us.
yeah,
He couldn't help you start one, not a
right.
chance,
Right.
right? Um, so that's important, right? And then the other thing is, to your point, it can't be oversimplified. I would say get a syllabus of what it is they're going to teach you and show you, right?
Absolutely.
As I mentioned, I've been through 7 paid mentorship groups as a student.
Mhm.
We didn't really talk about what I've done on the coaching side of it, right? Because I didn't think that really mattered. But I've actually coached over 100 people to buy their first apartment deal.
Wow, cool.
And um, yeah, so somebody that's doing it and then understand their content, I think is important.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
and
go ahead.
no, please go. I was going to
No,
answer the question.
yeah, I was just saying. So one of the things that I tell people that I meet, I mean, we don't do coaching, we don't do mentorship, and but we work with guys like you or fund managers or investors. In I tell them, like, you want to find a mentor who is willing to give back, right? Obviously, some people do not have time, and no, and even if somebody wants to give back, they cannot have all the time in the world. So your goal is to basically, if you're just starting up as a fund manager, if you're trying to invest or own commercial real estate, um, you are somebody in a battlefield, and you should less worried about how you're going to look like riding a horse versus figuring out how you're going to win, like you said, your end result. And and the only way to do it is to brute force your way to get to it, right? Sure, you don't have to go to all of the mentorship programs that most of us have done, but you should have no shame asking right question with the respect of their time, and and you have to find a mentor that actually likes you. Right?
Hmm.
You can't go and waste somebody's time and not do your homework. Right?
Right.
That mentor will never pay attention to you. Um, it's so beautiful what you said about you mentored those hundred so people to buy the first real estate. How many of those were, in your opinion, were built for it? Right. Some people are just actually not. Right. So the how would you categorize out of those hundreds how many of those were good at raising capital? How many were good in operating or overall business? What was your uh, what was your focus on teaching?
Yeah. Great questions. So let me answer it this way. Um, when what I do now, when I coach someone now, okay, it's one on one. I'm sorry, I've got 2 programs, right? I've got a how to buy apartment buildings. Okay, the 33 steps you talked about. I mean, mine's
Mhm.
not 33, but it's
Yeah,
27, I think, is what I
yeah,
have.
yeah.
But
I might have bifurcated a few more.
yeah. And so I teach people how to buy apartments. Okay.
Yeah.
And I do that on a one-on-one basis.
Mhm.
I don't I don't actually like the group coaching in that regard because to your point, everybody has different skill sets and different
Correct.
strengths, right? And then I also am launching a group program to help people become fund managers. Don't
Mhm.
think that applies, right? In this conversation. But let's talk about when I'm helping somebody, coaching them how to buy apartments. I would say the first and foremost thing is I start with an interview, right? It's just, I want them to sell me, right? It's not me selling them that they have to pay me uh, $500 an hour, right? That's not what it's about, right?
Correct.
It's you need to sell me that I'm going to invest my time in you and it's going to be worth it. That's really what it's about.
Correct.
And said, I'm going to say 50, maybe 60% of the time, I ask the question, when I ask the question, why you want to do this? I get, I want to make more money or I want passive income, right? It's about money. And at least half or two-thirds of those people that give me that answer, they end up going on my passive investor list, right? And maybe I'll give them a free hour or 2 or 3 to teach them how to become a good passive investor.
Yeah.
In fact, I even have a 7-day free course. I mean, it's only like a 15-minute videos, right? But seven 15-minute videos on how to become a passive investor and what to look for and what questions to ask. And so I hone in and there's only 30 or 40% that really truly want to get into real estate and want to start buying apartments.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, um, we're going back to what does done look like,
Yeah.
right? If you just want to make more money, right? You love your job, you're good at your job, like something like that. Investing passively is a great way to get into real estate.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, right? If you want to actually buy an apartment building, you're buying a business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. When I started that, um, today I own an apartment complex where I used to rent back in 2011. When
Wow.
I Yeah, if I can do it, everybody can do it.
Yeah,
When I started that journey, I quickly realized if I have to run this business, real estate is easy. People are hard,
that's right.
and I need to ensure that the company that I'm building has a culture and the structure that can sustain multiple projects. Today, we own 30 plus apartment complex. I'm sitting with you and having a meaningful conversation only because my team has been working. It took me about 13 years, 14 years almost to build that team. We have implemented EOS in our company, and I'm in the process of writing a book of all the learnings that I've done, how to build right culture and things of nature. But when I ended up implementing EOS, Senate, I realized the guy who wrote EOS had no employees. Like, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it's such a powerful system to run organizations and small businesses. But I quickly realized that EOS is awesome in some areas, but it's not so awesome on so many other areas that only somebody like you who managed 3,000 people in your career, or somebody who's, you know, managing large number of employees, what they understand is entirely different on how to run a big organizations. So
Right.
to your point, people who are just trying to make more money, and if they don't have a why cleared out in their mind, might as well just be a passive investor and not to deal with all the headache that comes with it.
Yeah,
Senate,
absolutely.
how people can find you, if somebody interested in enrolling in your 7-day program or your passive list or things that you're working on right now, how to get in touch with you, and and
Well,
also what are the things that you're currently working.
yeah, yeah. Well, so first of all, I'm the only Senate out there, I think.
Okay.
Definitely the only Senate escritch, right? So Google me, you'll find me.
Yeah.
I'm on all social platforms, but the best way, the absolute best way is meetsenate.com. You can book a call right there on that. You can get my 7-day free passive investor course and you can download my contact information, right?
Yeah.
Literally my cell phone number is on that website. So meetsenate.com. Happy to answer and help any way I can.
I want to bring up a point, a really important point. Your journey started as a single family commercial to a commercial real estate, and then the skill set that you learned, which was more of a overflow from your past experience, is how to raise capital, how to be a fund manager and be a custodian of people's money by giving them the right advice.
That's right.
That skill set alone is so powerful that it can be translated into any kind of new asset classes, which you pointed out as a diversification is so important. So I'm super glad you mentioned that. I'm definitely going to talk to you a little bit more after this call and kind of know a little bit more about what you're doing. And and with that said, I'll have last question for you. If you go back 10, 15 years back, or depending on what time, what's the catalyst year that you would do things differently? That if you had a chance to go back and do it again.
Boy, uh,
Too many
there
catalyst
was a
years.
really big turning point in my life, about 23 years ago.
Okay.
Um, Interesting. I haven't thought about this in a long time. This is an interesting question. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Huge turning point in my life 23 years ago. I won't get into the details, but let's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
say
Yeah. No, absolutely. I get it.
one relationship ended, another one started. Let's say that, right?
Yeah.
Um, and at that point, right? If I could start over, right? So this was 2022. No, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry, I had the dates wrong.
Yeah.
Had to do
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
math. If I could have started in real estate then,
Mm,
right? So I would have gotten another 10 years,
yeah.
right? Ish.
Yeah.
Um, that's the only difference is start sooner, right?
Yeah.
And then also, um, Stephen Covey wrote a great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I
Yeah.
think number two, the second or third habit, I'm not sure which one, is begin with the end in mind, which
Yeah.
is exactly why I said earlier, right? What does done look like? What is the end state? I loved my time in single family.
Yeah.
Loved it. Okay. I learned a ton, but I would love to have compressed that down
Yeah.
and gone and moved on to the next iteration faster, right?
Yeah.
Which you've noticed now that's what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? When I'm into single family was 10 years,
Yeah.
multifamily was 3 years, right?
Yes.
Fund managers, now I've been on that for 3 years. And
Yeah.
now my business is evolving again and I'm helping people start funds.
Yeah.
Still going to be a fund manager, but I'm helping people start funds. So I'm
Absolutely.
evolving more quickly.
So you would start doing real estate earlier if you would had a chance. It's exactly my catalyst here as well, Senate. I had somebody a wrong. I won't call him a wrong mentor. I think he gave me right advice at the wrong time, probably. Um, but for my reason to start into single family, if I would go back, I would directly start into multifamily because those two businesses are so much different. There's just no similarity except you know some contractors and some paint jobs how to do it, some flooring costs and all of that. We own today most apartment complex in we own and operate. We have our own construction crew. And today, if you know, I know the cost of every paint job, every flooring, and those things. But when back in 2020, 2011, 2010, when I was starting into single family journey, when I started into single family journey, because somebody told me, "Hey, you don't want to go buy a flat roof apartment complex." Well, guess what? In 2015, that was my first property, a flat roof apartment complex. So I waited for that 5 years because I had this thing, and those years were so hot that the property that I liked was which was not flat roof was being overbid by somebody else.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying a 138 unit apartment complex. That was my first deal. It was a flat roof. Um, Hindsight, I paid so little, but back then I was like, I'm paying too much. We are sitting on about 4x on that. We haven't sold it. We're probably going to refinance it. But to your point, right? When I look back, if I could change one thing, that, or the second thing I would say, I wish I would have met my wife early and marry earlier than than what we did. But these are the only two things I would go change. Nothing else. Well, thanks a lot, Senate, for your time.
Yeah.
Any last comments? The website you said meetsenate.com, right?
That's right. Meetsenate.com. All of that, it's on there. I'd love to help anybody that's listening to this. Any way I can help, reach out.
Awesome. And if you guys, for any reason, unable to get to him, ping me. I'll send an email to text to Senate or one of my team members.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks for
Thanks,
taking
Senate.
it.
Appreciate your time, man. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hey, good job. That was, you've obviously,